In 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1, Paul writes, "Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ." Here the Apostle Paul is telling us to imitate Christ. And obviously we should do that the best that we can because he is perfect. But he is the only one that's been on this planet that has been perfect. And I mean, if that's not more of a reason to want to imitate him, just for that fact alone. And throughout the New Testament, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of examples of how we can do this. One of my favorites being John chapter 2. In this chapter, John writes how Jesus and his disciples were invited to a wedding in Cana. For those of you who don't know, this is the story of when Jesus turns water into wine. And at the start of this, his mother comes to him saying, "Jesus, there's no more wine." And he says, he replies, he says, "Why do you involve me, woman? You know it is not my hour." And then he proceeds to tell the servants to fill these 6 stone jars that were used for a ceremonial washing by the Jewish people at this time. And so the servants do that. And then he said, "Now draw them out and take them to the master of the banquet." Now upon doing this, the master, who has just received this wine, continues to announce to the whole banquet that, how good this wine is, and that usually banquets will serve the more expensive wine first and then the cheaper wine later. And he says, "This is, finest wine I've ever had," pretty much. The only people who knew what he did were his disciples, his mother, and the servants. Nobody else knew. He says to his mother at the beginning, "Why do you involve me? You know it is not my hour." But he still did it. Even though he recognized that the time for him to reveal himself as who he was, it wasn't that time. But he still went out of his way and did this for the people in this wedding. First off, God doesn't have to give us anything, right? He didn't have to do this for these people. He didn't have to at all. They didn't deserve it, but he still did it. And so what we can take away from this is to just do things out of the kindness of our heart, as in imitating Christ. In this excerpt, it says that the only people who knew were the servants, his mother, and his disciples. He was getting no praise from the master of this banquet. He was getting no praise from anyone else that was attending the wedding. But he still did it. Now, we need to do things just to do them. Doing things for other people, not because we expect anything in return, not even because we expect a thank you, but just because we love God. He even recognized that it wasn't his time to reveal himself as who he truly was. Wasn't expecting a thank you from anyone. Wasn't expecting anything. He just did this out of the kindness and love in his heart for other people. Now, if we are to imitate Christ, it's just do things out of the kindness of our heart. Not because we expect a thank you, not because we expect a reward, a prize. Not even because we want to be praised by someone else. But simply because we love God and simply because we love other people. Christ loved everybody, and he tells us to love everybody, our enemies, our neighbors, just as we love ourselves. And how can you truly say that you love someone if you do something for them, but the only reason you do that thing for them is because you expect a favor back? With your mother, are you going to do something for her just so she can do something back as a favor? Your best friend, your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be, you don't do things for that person because you're expecting something back. You do it just because you love them. And if we're not showing that love to everybody, that same type of equal love to everybody on this that we can, then we can't say that we love everybody. And we can't say that we are imitating Christ if that's how we're acting. And throughout the Gospels, this is just one instance of how we can imitate Christ in our love for other people. And this is how we should love other people, by doing acts of kindness and just doing things for other people because we love them and because we love God. And I mean, not only that, but changing other people's hearts for the betterment of them. That's not going to happen by expecting a favor out of someone. That's not going to happen by making them owe you a solid, making them owe you a favor, whatever the case may be. If an acquaintance you know, if they see you go out of your own way to do something for them, and you're not expecting anything back, it feels great. I've had that happen to me before. And it's just one of those things where it's like, nice, man, this guy really does love me. Or else they wouldn't do that for me. And just in terms of the world, there's so much hate in the world now that we need love to just go around. And it starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with the other person watching this. The person that you tell about this video, whatever the case may be, it starts with us. Spread the love, not the hate.